Well, good afternoon, Max, my brother. Welcome to Phone Wallet Keys, David Ortiz. This is a what do you call it when you bury an item from your past and then you dig it up in the future?
A time capsule?
Time capsule.
Is that the word you're looking for? Or is it
Yeah.
like some fucking like fancy word like palimpsest or something other artifact related?
What does palimpsest mean?
Um Palimpsest means exactly what you just asked.
Oh.
A manuscript
Um
or piece of writing material on which a later writing has been superimposed on Ephes' earlier writing. Sorry, no. Um Something reused or altered but still bearing visible traces of its earlier form.
anyway,
Can we start the
y-
podcast over?
cross me up. Don't snap. Don't freeze. Just leave me up this skin. And baby begin. Yeah, I'm reading In Search of Lost Time though.
You are?
Yeah, Swan's Way.
With
I
who?
wait, so I'm trying to get Zan to join me, but right now it's just me. It's just me and Proust. But he just this morning when I was reading it, he had a sip of tea, which sent him on a this crazy little like. This book is insane. I really like it a lot. Unfortunately, the copy that I have was your former copy, and so I am hacking my way through your uh, extremely obnoxious commentary that you have covered the book with.
Well, I gave that up in about 30 pages, so you'll be all right soon.
No, it's like more like 90, but I'm almost through it. It's a terrible thing to do, and I used to watch you do it to books, and then I thought that that's what like you do when you're smart and you're reading books. You like write all over them. And so I did it too for a little bit. And it's just the worst because then no one else can fucking read the book again.
You can just buy, if the book is really good, you can just buy it again and
It-
redo it. But if you don't
yeah,
like drawing in your book, then don't do it. But I do like drawing in my books.
it's terrible. It's a
Fuck
terrible
you.
habit.
Why
It's a
is it
good
a
book.
terrible?
I just
It's
explained why it's terrible because it's like you're not the most important fucking person here. We're all going to live our lives and die and these books are still going to be around. And then what?
my
No.
books. You can do what you want with your books. That's why people like the difference between going to the library and buying a book is when you buy a book, you can write in it.
Yeah, but also when you buy a book, you could lend it to a friend. You
Yeah,
could
but
go back
also
to it at a
the
later date.
library is your friend and they can lend you shit anytime. You
That's
should
true.
also get that version of In Search of Lost Time isn't the
Yeah.
best version, and you should go to the library since you're not going to be writing in it and get the new version.
Oh, really? Is it better? The translation?
I mean, people are mad excited about it. I mean, there's two schools of thought, right? There's like, you should definitely read the version in translation that, um, like F. Scott Fitzgerald read
Uh-huh.
and William Faulkner read.
Uh-huh.
Or you should read the most modern and coolest and newest.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, I don't know. Like,
I
if you're
always just feel
reading
like hopefully
Proust
they're
to like
not that
get,
different, right? Hopefully
oh, they're
the
wicked
tr-
different.
well, so then we're not
Are you
reading
reading these
Proust.
fucking books for the plot? You're not reading Proust for the plot. So they're wicked
There
different.
there seems to be no plot, at least yet. The plot thus far in the book has been man wants a goodnight kiss from his mom.
Yeah, I would say that if you are in search of a plot and in search of lost time, you are going to come up feeling like you have had your author reader contract violated.
speaking of social contracts being violated, I took the day off yesterday, but prior to that, I had a solid 10 days protesting in a row.
Protesting every day since we last recorded.
Every day since we last recorded.
Well, that's
And
great, brother. It's so much better than not doing it.
yeah, it is totally great. And
What's it been
as you
like?
could, well, it's first of all, it's hard to distinguish between days and events, especially because there was a period of time where, and I mean, there's multiple protests happening in New York throughout this time, all over the city, all at all times of the day, daytime and nighttime. And so there was at a certain point, but I was basically almost exclusively went to protests in Brooklyn, and I tried to go to ones that were somewhat relatively close to me. Like I didn't go to any protests in Williamsburg. Actually, one went ended up in Williamsburg because I those had a reputation for being like Margaritaville style protests. But and I only went to one in Manhattan. There was a time period where like I went 3 days in a row, and we basically went from Grand Army Plaza down Flatbush, past Barclay, left on Atlantic, down Atlantic, like right on Court Street, and you end up in like where the Supreme Court is in Brooklyn, and then there's like a rally there, and then it walks down to like the Brooklyn Bridge, gets denied from crossing, goes down to Manhattan Bridge, gets denied from crossing, maybe for a second like thinks that it's going to go onto the BQE but doesn't, and then it kind of gets rerouted. And that happened 3 days in a row, and I was a little bit like um I can't keep doing this. This is getting to be too crazy. But then the next day, which was today's Wednesday, so Monday, I went to a protest that was incredible that started at a police station on DeKalb and Classen, which happens to be where I've been pulled over twice for running that red light on my bicycle. Like back in the day, that was my route to Aikido, and cops would just like chilling outside of the police station would pull me
And
over. So I
personally
kind of
arresting you because you were a Tom Brady fan?
I don't know, like I fucking already hated this police precinct, and so it felt really cool to go there. And also, I want to start. We can work backwards because I mean we have to talk about the curfew. There was no curfew yet when we did our last episode, so we have to talk about that entire thing. But I'm working backwards because this protest was so fucking cool.
It's
Partly
cool
because
to be able to protest, have like a personal stake, having been personally policed by these police that you started your protest at. Because I
sure.
think one thing that people really need to understand, people who are white really need to understand, is like how unpleasant, when you think about it, it is to be policed. Like, um,
Mm,
white people and black people aren't policed in the same
mm,
way, but you can just sort of picture in your mind like the people in your life who feel like cops, like whether it's your
mm,
boss or anyone who tells you what to do, who polices your actions, and how shitty that
yeah.
feels.
Right, like a vice principal back when you were in middle school.
Yeah, or someone who
Fuck you, Mr. Sapoznik.
fuck you, Mr. Sapoznik. But also that dude's name sounds so much like suppository. Anyway, um,
Well, relating to like there was
so
I
there
didn't
you
like
were.
most. Well, I'll jump around for a second because it's on that note, like the best rally that I went to was organized by these people called Warriors in the Garden. I loved them. They were all like fucking 24 years old, and they were leading marches, and they had a ton of spirit, and they were like really great to listen to and to watch. And one of them at the rally kind of told the story about when he was 17 or something. He was like, I think it was almost like he was like, it was 8 years ago when I was like 16. And I was like, oh my God, they're so young. But he told the story about he was going to the movies, and a cop grabbed him while he was crossing the street, threw him up against the wall, started searching him, wouldn't tell him what was going on, like, and basically charged him with theft, like, because he said that he fit a description for a stolen phone or something that he didn't even have on his, like, they started asking him, and like, and then this he was delivering this like kind of speech at a rally, and it was so fucking amazing. Like he basically, they held him that night, and in the morning when the arraignment came, his mom, is Haitian, and so he's like Haitian mom had got the entire church and half of the neighborhood to pack the courthouse that morning when he was arraigned. And when they saw that, he came in there, and he spent the night in jail with, like he said, like with like a rapist, with people, like older people who were being charged with very serious crimes. And he was like, kind of, they were all like together, chained together basically. And then for the arraignment, he had packed the courthouse. And when the judge saw that, they were like, what are you doing with this kid? Like, we got to get this kid out of there. And he just kept saying, at the time when he was 17, what about everyone else? What about all those other people that I was checking? Like, who are they? Like, who's going to pack the court for them? And then he was also talking about how he now, as an adult, but he's 24, but as an adult, he was like, I want to know what happened that day. I want to know who the officer was. I want to know all the information about that case. And I've been trying to get that information, but it's sealed and you can't get it. They will not open it. No one can open it for me. No one can tell me the name of the officer who grabbed me and threw me against the wall while I was walking to a movie theater. And like, I don't know, the whole fucking, that was like, I was crying. It was so powerful. Like when he was just like, they're great, Warriors in the Garden. Anyway, on Monday, we're outside the police precinct, and it got to be really cool by this point because like by Monday, the chants are, everyone is chanting defund the police, and it's like not a pipe dream. Like, it's happening around the country. It is the conversation topic. It's like, it is a politically viable thing to talk about, and that is astounding considering where we were 2 weeks ago, right?
Where we were 2 weeks ago is your brother was watching the Battle for Seattle documentary and crying on a walk by himself, listening to Rage Against the Machine, bemoaning the fact, listen to me.
Oh man, that's dark.
Bemoaning the fact that the right had a complete monopoly on insurgency in the United States of America. And not only that, they were using it to storm the State House to demand the right to kill poor people who give them haircuts.
That's
and
exactly
exactly 2 weeks later, there is a 7-block autonomous zone in Seattle right now, where the cops have abandoned a police station and anarchists have set up medical tents, food, bathroom, and security and barricades to prevent white nationalists from ramming them to death. It's the most and all across the country, abolitionists who have been seeding the movement for a generation have finally seized this opportunity to get everyone in the entire country talking about defunding the police. And this incremental organizing step, which is like a 10% decrease, which we've talked about before on this podcast, in terms of a military budget, for the police budget, just to show everyone that you can still be safe after a 10% increase. So let's keep going. Like, that's on the table in every major country, every major city in the country. And I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, I mean, that is now the floor of what's possible. Like, we're at least going to get that. And I love that every step of the way, every demand that's been met, it's not like anyone is like, okay, now our demands like have been met and we're going to chill out. It's just like, no, we take that demand and now we increase it tenfold. Like, they thought that they could placate us by charging the rest of the officers from Minneapolis. And we're just like, no way, dude. This is so far beyond that. So yeah, that 10% decrease is a floor. Like, and what Minneapolis is going to do is, I mean, the whole world is going to be looking to Minneapolis now and to see what that looks like. Because
I know, it's so exciting. I mean, also, I have seen city councils say things before and then not do it. So
I also was thinking about you and thinking about your experience getting something passed in the city council only to have it revoked 24 hours later after Zionism.
No, it was 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks.
Oh, it was?
Well, yeah, because that was the next city council meeting.
Right, right, right. Um
So, in a sense, it was revoked in the next 15 minutes of city council. It was passed at the end of one city council meeting and rescinded in the first 15 minutes of the next city council meeting. So, in terms of minutes of city council in session, it was on the books for 15 minutes.
right, which is to say that like we haven't accomplished the things that we've set out to accomplish yet, but they are now like within range. They're on the horizon, and we're no one's
People,
turning
it's
like
possible. It feels possible. It
and no
also
one's taking their
feels
foot off the
terrible, right?
gas.
It feels terrible to watch the co-optation in progress, right? Like the counterinsurgency is in full effect with like corporate devils like using hashtag Black Lives Matter um, and like Joe Biden writing op-eds about $300 million to retrain police rather than defund them.
Right. So Joe Biden came out with a statement today, I think, about increasing the police budget in order to go through like sensitivity training or racial
So
bias
that,
training or
quote,
something. It's just
every
like
police department in the country has enough money to do sensitivity training.
it's
What
just
the
like
fuck?
it's so tone deaf. It's so completely like I mean, what I don't know what you would expect from someone who's just been holed up in his fucking basement in Delaware, like and is has no grasp on reality. But it is like truly alarming that this is the presumptive Democratic nominee's response to what's going on right now. It's fucking crazy. Look,
Tell me
there's
about the New
over
York City
the
curfew.
police have like
You've lived under curfew, which
right.
also you had never has never happened to you before.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there hasn't been a curfew in New York since before World War II.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of people lived and died without ever experiencing a curfew in New York. The basic breakdown of everything was on Friday night. The protest started, and in New York, and some police cars were burned. The next day, Saturday, which by the way, the first police van that burned in New York was right outside Fort Greene Park, and with the ashes of the burnt police car, someone the next day made spelled out Black Lives Matter out of the burning like the ashes of a burnt police van. It's still there right now, a week later. Like people are like containing it. It's amazing. Um,
It's beautiful.
yeah, I mean, it's just like no, like we walked by it in a march recently, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that's still there. It's fucking unbelievable. Like the cops must not know that that's from the fucking ashes of their burned van.
Have you taken a picture? Will you throw it up on our Instagram?
Yeah, I'll try and find one. So we kind of covered the weekend activities as in our last podcast, what that was like over the weekend. And so basically then they instituted the curfew. They instituted it at 11 p.m. the first day, and there was some looting before that. And then it was 8 p.m. I think from Tuesday through Saturday. And so the first night of curfew at 8 p.m., I was at Barclay at a protest, and we had taken over Atlantic Avenue, and it started out. This one was funny. It was like like I'm just basically going around like I'm not being that discerning about which protest to go to. So I meet this group on Fifth Avenue, and it turns out it's a church. It's a church group. And so we're like they lead this march to Barclay, and it's kind of interesting. We're all at Barclay, and there's these pastors talking, and they're going like they're literally saying shit like save, like, come down, Jesus. There's black boys dying in the streets. We need you, Jesus, to and like they're like, say his name, everybody, and everyone's like, Jesus, like, and so I'm like in a crowd of like 1,000 people at Barclays, like screaming Jesus. And at this point, I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever. Like, save us, Jesus. There is fucking like black blood in the streets.
It feels good to be in a large group of people who are all on the same page, no matter what you're saying, is what I find.
And also like there was like a moment that was really powerful where like I think there where the pastors would read the names of people, black people who've been murdered by the police in the last few years, and there was like, it was a script. I saw people reading off their phones. I kind of like couldn't really tell how they got it or where it was from, but it was something along the lines of, like, um they would just be like, Sandra Bland, like she was like he would go Sandra Bland, and the crowd would go, she was driving in her car. Breonna Taylor, she was lying in her bed. Like they would just go through what each of these people were doing. Uh, like Tamir Rice, he had a toy. Like it just went through the whole thing, and it was really powerful. And then we all sang "We Shall Overcome." Like, and there was like a young like choir leader like leading it, and it was like, I was like, this is incredibly moving and bizarre. So we were like singing "We Shall Overcome" at the Barclays Center, 1,000 people. And and now it's about 7 o'clock, and the pastor kind of goes, "This is a peaceful protest, and we do not want to violate the law. So we're asking everyone now to go home. There's an hour before curfew kicks in." And
And
so they leave, and then like more and more people are showing up, and so then we start marching. We're marching down Flatbush, and it's like, before we even started marching, actually, everyone's kneeling. I'm kneeling in the middle of Atlantic Avenue, and everyone's phone goes off at the same time with the notification from the police saying, curfew starting in 15 minutes. Everyone go home. And everyone like gets like, you can hear it ringing and buzzing in unison. It's incredible. And so it's getting tense, and we don't know what the response is going to be. And so we start marching down Flatbush Avenue, and then as the
does
clock
anyone
strikes,
does anyone who's kneeling look at their phone, get up, and go?
I think the people that were leaving had already left, and had like, and you could see when the church group ended and they told people to go home, like there were people that went home. There's a couple, like definitely a couple hundred people that were leaving. But as I said,
Sure.
there was also hundreds of other people showing up.
No,
So
but let me ask my question one more time, and maybe you can give me a direct answer this time, because last time sucked. When everyone was kneeling there and you all got the text message, at that moment, did anyone like look at their phone and stand up and leave?
no.
No, not a single person.
No, everyone knew already. It wasn't like no one, like people were learning for the first time. But people were really nervous because again, we had no, like the night before,
So just because there
we
was
knew
like
that.
defiance of these text messages, it wasn't like, I know what you mean. Like you can still be defiant and anxious and scared.
Right, and that's what it was. It wasn't like, but we'd just go like, the people united will never be defeated. Whose streets are streets? And so we're walking down Flatbush Avenue, and there are police on all the side streets, and we see a huge police presence up ahead, and we know that the police are behind us too. So we're kind of boxed in, and it's like 7:55, and was like, it hits this moment 8 o'clock p.m., and the crowd just starts going crazy, screaming, clapping. Everyone is clapping out. Cars are honking. It was a real like jubilation. And I was just like, oh, there's this thing like when we were trapped inside during quarantine, and we were talking about when this is over, when quarantine is over, when COVID is over, there's going to be the most crazy parties ever. Like these parties are going to be like legendary parties. And separately, a lot of people were saying, and myself included, and we talked about this on this podcast, I think quite a bit, like, when this is over, we don't want to go back to normal because normal was super fucked up. And we need to take this as an opportunity. We've now experienced life where capitalism kind of grinded to a halt for a second. And yes, the circumstances were scary and dire, but like also we kind of are seeing what's wrong with our society very clearly with COVID and stuff. And so we don't want to go back to normal. And then of course, like this stuff's happening. And I realized that moment when we're violating curfew, there's cops around, we don't know what's going on, but the crowd is screaming, smiling, everyone's laughing, clapping. And yes, it's really somber why we're there. We're there because police are murdering black people, because slavery still exists in the form of prison industrial complex. Like our country is so profoundly fucked up. And yet these are the people we're standing up when we want to change the world, and we won't go home. And it's like, it's all of these things that we were thinking about before COVID, but in a way that we never imagined it would be back then. And now it's like jubilation. And so this crowd is getting huge and we're fired up, and now it's like 8:30, 8:45, we get to the bottom of the Manhattan Bridge. There's a huge police presence there in front, right on Flatbush, the main entrance to the Manhattan Bridge. But our crowd is so big at this point, and I'm kind of like towards the front on the right side, and and we there's a standoff between the people in the front and these cops, and we're chanting back and forth, and we know it's past curfew, and the cops are all dressed up in riot gear ready to go. But meanwhile, and I didn't even realize this at first, like the at least half of the group that was in the back half kind of they snake around, and they basically go left on Tillery while we're occupying in front of the police, and chanting back and forth and having this standoff. This huge group sneaks around behind them to the other side and gets in on a little side entrance, and gets on the bridge. And now we've surrounded the police, and it's like this really kind of like, we're just like, it's just like, you don't know what it's like. All of a sudden we're like, oh, we have like, I don't know what we're supposed to do. No one is kind of sure what to do. The cops turn around, and now it's like, and now they're kind of advancing from all sides on those of us who are left. So at this point, like, the group that I'm in sort of disperses a little bit. And
Are you, because you're worried about getting kettled? It sounds like there's
yeah. And we know now that that if you're kettled, you do not, the worst thing that you can do is disperse and try and run away, because they have people waiting for you on side streets to pick you off. And that happens. We learned that on Wednesday night. But this is Monday still. And so like, I'm on my bicycle, which again, we learned later on in the week did not make you safe. Cops were pushing people off of their bikes, stealing bikes, whatever. But
can I just put a quick pin in that?
Yeah.
I went to my first protest in London.
Mm-hmm.
And cops on the first day charged with horses.
What? England's crazy.
England's fucking crazy. It's so old school. But like there's a fucking cavalry charge of horse riding coppers, and people had brought jump bikes. Is that a thing you know about? City bikes, I think you would call them.
Yeah.
And everyone who had a city bike with them started throwing them under the horse's legs.
Jesus.
And cops started flying off their horses.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then at the next protest, the cop, I have like very clear photos of cops, of cop horse trucks, with all the horses inside, because all the protesters brought jump bikes. So I would just say that in some ways, jump bikes can keep you safe. It just depends. Your bicycles can keep you safe.
Yeah, it depends. I guess I don't remember that scene from Braveheart, but
no, but I would say that like, it's jump bikes are interesting for protests because nobody gives a fuck about them. Like your bicycle costs you hundreds of dollars and you need it, right?
Yeah, I love my bike. I've had it for over 10 years. Yeah.
A jump bike.
Yeah. Right.
Getting destroyed is nothing. It's awesome, in fact.
Well, they shut down City Bike starting at 6:00 p.m. that entire week. So 2 hours before the curfew went into effect, they would shut down City Bikes, because there were a lot of City Bikes at protests in the beginning too. And I think that that's probably
keeping protesters safe.
City Bikes.
In any case, you were. Sorry for that digression.
No, that's fine. That's really
you didn't bring your bike this night, because bikes
one
don't
of the
keep
funniest
you safe.
things that I saw was definitely there was like a dude in Chicago. Did you see this video of a dude in Chicago who somehow managed to steal a police horse? And he's like, there's like this video of a guy, it's point of view. First I saw the point of view video, and it's just this dude riding on a horse, and you're just like through the streets of Chicago, and he's screaming, and everyone in the background is going, "Where the fuck did you get that?" And he's like, "I stole it from the cops. Fuck it." And you're just like, that can't be real. And then I googled like other videos. You just like see someone else's video, like they're just like filming as the dude runs by on his horse. Like, there's like lots of videos of this guy's. I don't know what happened to him, but I mean, I don't know what happens to the horse after that night, or if, I don't know, whatever. But there's definitely that was fucking.
I hope
funny
he
as
got
hell.
away.
Me too. So
Did you get away?
basically, yes. So I swung around to the other like to a side entrance of the Manhattan Bridge. But I was kind of, it was just me and Joe at that point. And so the people who had snuck onto the Manhattan Bridge behind the cops, they march across, but then the police come back on the other side. And the problem with the bridges is, and this like I remember this for the Black Lives Matter protests in 2016 or whatever. Like
The
it's
shut him
kind of
down
like,
protest after Eric Gardner.
yeah, it's incredible this moment to take over the bridge. It's also like you're just like, this is insane, because when you're leaving the bridge, if the cops want to arrest you in mass, you made it really easy for them. And so like, I mean, but maybe that's the point. It's like a civil disobedience. That's what peaceful protesting is, I guess. Like there is no way we can fight against the police once they want to like use their superior violence. So, but in this case, what happened was there was so many people that the cops just held them on the bridge for hours. And I stayed for about 30 minutes trying to figure out like if there was a way that, like, but basically like that was jail for the night for those people. But I mean, it wasn't as bad as actual jail, because they were still like, they were outside at least. But yeah, like it's truly fucked up. And apparently the police were telling them like, in 15 minutes we're gonna let you off. Like everyone on the bridge was just like, what's going on, let us off the bridge. And the cops wouldn't for hours. So that was Monday night. And what basically, oh no, was that Monday night or Tuesday night? It's all hard to kind of remember. Wednesday night is the night, the big night of where the police riot, basically in unison, and you see it all over the
Were
city.
you in the Bronx?
No, I never went to the Bronx. But they definitely, the police rioted in the Bronx. They rioted in Midtown, and they rioted in Cadman Plaza in Brooklyn. I had been protesting all day, and I think I had gone home at around like 8:30 or something, like to have some dinner. And at 9:15, the cops just like completely went totally crazy in a coordinated effort. So I have a bunch of friends that got arrested that night. Jack Daves got arrested. They were there's like videos of the police hitting people in the face with batons. It really got nasty on Wednesday night. Pulling people off their bikes. And this is like, they think it's like a
And
response.
picking people off, right? This is the thing about why you need to stay together.
Right. So then what we realize is that you're always safer if you're facing off, looking at the cops in a giant group, than if you try and run, because what they did is, well, in like Cadman Plaza in Brooklyn, they literally just trapped them in the plaza, and they were saying, go home, and they trapped them in there and they were like advancing like an army. And luckily it started raining, and that's the only thing that saved people, I think. Like that kind of like that was a pressure valve, like a release a little bit. But crazy fucked up Wednesday night. And still you had de Blasio on Thursday morning saying that he was defending the police, and that the police were kind of just doing what was necessary to like maintain law and order. Like that was like the real moment where de Blasio lost everyone for good. Like it just was so, and he'll never recover from that. Even still, like on Friday morning, there's an Ask the Mayor segment on Brian Lear that I love. He always does it on Friday, where people can call in and ask the mayor questions. And Brian Lear led with, on Wednesday night, police used their batons to enforce the curfew. Is this the official policy? Is this your policy, Mr. Mayor? And Brian Lear, he wouldn't say no. Like he would just say like, what we know, Brian, is that people are like most of these protests are peaceful, but people are using them as cover to do really bad things, and the police need to be able to find those people and protect the city from them. And it's just like, okay, so actually it's like the answer is yes. Like you are like standing by the police using batons.
It's so crazy. I remember him campaigning on an anti-police platform.
Yes, ending stop and frisk, Tale of Two Cities, all that shit. But he's so
Motherfucking
fucking
these people turn their back on him. They dox his like it's so crazy.
well. The people turning their back, the cops turning their back on him at the cop funeral, like after the first, like after those cops were killed by that mentally ill person post like shut it down Black Lives Matter protests. That scarred De Blasio so much that he's still like hurting from that, and that's why he's. I mean, that's the only thing I can make sense of why he's acting the way
He
he.
can't you can't make nice with these people.
No, you really can't. And we
So
now
he
like
should stop trying and he should stop trying and stop betraying black people who are getting murdered by this insane out of control criminal gang of thugs.
yeah. I mean, it's too late for De Blasio, and I mean,
It's
he's done
so
for.
interesting. It's like I wonder what's going to happen, right? Because in Seattle, the leftist mayor there has been completely embarrassed by the cops. She like got them to like agree to a moratorium on tear gas, and then the next day they completely violated it. And
Really?
yeah, the cops just and then so activists forced them out of their police station. Like I said, created that autonomous zone, and last night they took over City Hall, calling for her resignation. In Minnesota, they're going to defund the police and overthrow this piece of shit, flimsy mayor.
Jacob.
All
That
Jacob's got to
shit.
do is like get on board and be like, fuck it, we'll try it.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob fucked up so bad in that moment. That's such a powerful moment. And the next day, the
Because he's
fucking.
scared of cops. He's scared of the police. I don't know.
But
Everyone
why are
is.
they scared of cops and not scared of the people? Like that video, that viral video of the mayor of Minneapolis, like the protester, he's like in the middle of a protest, and the protester is saying, "We're gonna, oh, Mayor Jacob is here. We're gonna ask him a question, and you all know what to do if he doesn't answer the way we want to, right, everybody?" And everyone goes, "Vote him out." And you're just like, and then she's like, "Will you defund the police?" And he says no, and they're like, "Bye, get out of here." And everyone's like chanting, "Bye, Jacob." And you're just like, wait, what is going on with these? Like, on the one hand, like maybe you can admire Jacob for not. Like, I mean, De Blasio never would have done that. He never would have said no. He would have been like, "We're gonna look, all keep all options on the table, and I'm gonna evaluate this." Let's just like, so on the one hand, it's cool that he like at least said something, but you're just like, no, no, you should be afraid of the people, not the fucking cops. The cops aren't a big enough voting block to fucking swing elections, but the people are. There's thousands and thousands of people, and then you see the public opinion polls. It's like there's this is a moment where politicians should be really afraid to go against this movement, and which is makes Biden's stance and like the major Democrats kind of waffling all the more frustrating, especially because the Republicans don't have an answer. They don't have any idea what to do, and it's like all of a sudden, so the public opinion has swung like on this one issue, and the Democratic Party is poised to take to be like to fully take advantage of that, and they're just like taking it for granted and not fucking pushing it. The mainstream ones, but it's like it's but yeah. So the leftist mayors are not going to be protected by like, but we're not. No one's getting the benefit of the doubt right now. It's like you need to fucking
Totally.
actually come
But
out.
who are they going to replace? Who are they going to replace? A different leftist? A better leftist? That's the answer, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to see, like what's not going to happen is a blowback, and like all these like all these cities are going to elect Ronald Reagan's.
No.
Um,
No. Of course not.
and so
Like
like there's not going to
Trump.
be
Like
a
there's only
Giuliani like figure isn't going to emerge out of this in New York.
no, no, definitely not. And Trump's like last fucking. I mean, the only play for him is to just like come out fully and just be like, "I'm the law and order candidate," but he doesn't have the numbers to win like that. It's just like you on the Trump website yesterday. It was like he said like, "Sign this petition and stand with me against Antifa," and you're just like, wait, stand with you against the anti-fascists? This is just like, it's not even like there's no subtlety, there's no ambiguity. It's just like, okay, there are the fascists and there are the fucking people who are calling for a different society. We just want a society in which resources are more equitably distributed, in which the police, like the $6 billion police budget, is spread out. And also, like, throughout the week, as the week went on, I started talking to cops, and it's like definitely
Don't do that.
no. That's an
Don't do
important
that.
thing for me. I mean, I disagree if you say don't do that. It's definitely using my privilege, but also I think it's important because like it. I don't know. I think it's important for a number of different reasons.
What were you chanting, Neil?
No, I mean I wasn't in a protest where that was a chant, but I don't
What
really
the
like to chant. What?
What the fuck do you hope to accomplish? To get them to quit?
Um, it seems unlikely that you're going to persuade anyone to quit.
Well,
That's
that seems to be the only good cop is a cop who has quit and blown the whistle, then starts blowing the whistle.
well, I mean, I want less police violence, and so it seems like if you can talk to a cop and have an interaction in which they don't.
I'm so upset. I had to I have to go to the grocery store, and like I thought we were like really nearing a good place to end this. Like you were talking about how clear and stark the moment was where it's like stand with Trump against anti-fascists. And now you betray yourself and show
No.
that you actually aren't that clear and are sitting
Huh?
here talking to cops. Did
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see?
you can. I still believe in politics, Max. So you still need to be able to talk to people who don't
Yes,
agree
it's
with you.
bad politics to talk to cops.
I disagree. I mean,
Well,
I don't understand.
have you
Make
asked
the argument.
black people who whose liberation you're marching for what they think?
I mean, there is no single unified black voice.
No,
that I
there's
can
not.
seek
That's a
out.
great
But
point.
there are certainly
so why don't
some
you
black
take
people that are
leadership from
talking to
black
cops.
leadership who's politically aligned with you, i.e., communist black leadership, who are all pretty much uniformly against ever talking to the police under any circumstances?
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, there's definitely been
Okay,
a lot of black
this is
people
what
I've
I'm
seen
talking
to
about.
cops and
This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how black people are not monolithic, right? And
Yes.
so while you have marches and movements for black liberation, you can align yourself to whatever pole of within the black liberation movement you choose. You can do moderates like the NAACP, or you can do radicals. It's totally up to you. And moderates will tell you, talk to the police, humanize yourself and the movement. And radicals will say, don't fucking do that shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? And they have great reasons. And they have
Such as what?
political reasons for doing
Such
so.
as what?
Which
What are
is
the great
that it
reasons?
makes other people unsafe and breaks up unity with amongst the protesters, amongst people who are and are not talking to the police.
How does it make people unsafe?
Because they can't rely on you. Because you know who else talks to the cops? Undercover cops.
Yeah, so like the thing is that with these protests is there's literally in most cases thousands of people. Sometimes like 5,000-6,000. Sometimes only 500 or 600. But and it's not. Everyone has way different agendas, different fucking.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. You're
standpoints, and
totally
there's definitely some
identifying
undercovers there.
why
There's
it's
like
tempting and
it's scary.
but you shouldn't talk to them.
Well, I don't agree. I mean, I didn't talk to them in the.
What are you
at
hoping to
first.
achieve?
So like it's like it got like well, first of all, I talked to them like on Monday when we were outside the police precinct, and you know I'm saying like you know, we don't want your blood, but we're coming for your pension. Like your fucking union we're coming for the union. I hope you liked it while you had it, but it's fucking gone now. Like and
Okay,
people
that
are
doesn't
like,
seem like talking to the police. That seems like taunting
No.
the police, which is an age-old and respectable pursuit.
Right. So, and then people are like, quit your jobs. And I'm like, don't worry. Like, you'll get unemployment like me. Like it's, it's not even that bad. And then some people in the protest were like, I think it sucks. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, my own personal circumstances on unemployment are awesome, but I understand that it's different for other people. And so maybe that wasn't like, I shouldn't speak for everyone, but I was like, talking to the cops, like, listen, you don't like whether you quit or not, like you might be out of a job soon. And, we're not going to stop until you are. But once you're out of a job, you'll get unemployment. You'll be fine. Like that, like talking to the cops like that. And,
yeah.
But
You're like positioning yourself near their boots. Your mouth is slackening, but your tongue remains in your mouth for now. Please continue.
Wait, I literally think that like there are rank and file cops that like
rank and file cops is a word that you use for workers. And cops aren't workers, they are class traders.
Right, that's true. But it's like this, Max, like
so don't say rank and file cops.
One of the chants that you'll hear a lot is how do you spell racist NYPD? And how do you spell racist NYPD? And so that's a chant where sometimes I understand like that structurally NYPD are racism weaponized. They're like some of the most horrific racism that you manifested in this country is in the form of the NYPD. But that being said, like I can't chant that when I'm standing in front of a black cop. It's just too fucking bizarre and weird for me to sit there and yell at a black cop, how do you spell racist NYPD? Because even though it's structurally true, it's still just we're two human beings like at our core, and it's like I can't do that. And
okay. So then why? Okay, great. That makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is how you make the fucking quantum leap from being uncomfortable with telling a black cop that his job is racist. To wanting to talk to them.
So like when I
like
talk
you
to
could
them,
just mind your own business and not say anything. Why do you want to talk to them?
It's just like this thing of like it's like you can humanize individual cops. You can recognize
why do you
that
think
cops
that's
as
your
an
job,
institution.
brother?
It's like it's everyone's job.
No, it isn't.
Well, what do you want to do once we dismantle the institution of the police? What do you want to do with former police officers?
They should go through a restorative justice process. That's not your job to design.
It's just like politically speaking, like I like think that you can that there are some. I think that a lot of police. I mean, let me.
Yeah,
just,
what the fact that you're saying politically speaking suggests that what I'm saying is like somehow not politically speaking. Like what I'm saying has reasoned politics behind it. They're just way to the left of yours on this particular matter.
Maybe that's true. Yeah, that could be true. But I just believe in the power of like persuasion in politics. And
why?
If
you're not going to quit, then what are you hoping to achieve?
What like
them to not hit you as hard that like when you like a few hours later when you break curfew?
I honestly
or when
don't
the order
think,
comes?
When I eventually was like speaking to a cop and explaining to him what it meant when we were talking about abolishing the police and defunding the police, and he was like saying that his response was like, look at East New York. You think you're going to get rid of the cops? Like, good luck in East New York. And I said, East New York is that's a black neighborhood that has no resources. And it's like part of the reason that this whole society is fucked up and is sick is because there are places like that where there's no resources whatsoever.
You won an argument with a fucking fascist.
Yeah, I got a single individual cop to actually like we got to the point where he was like understood and acknowledged how capitalism was a destructive force in this society. And like, is that guy gonna go? No, I mean,
do you think he beat up protesters later that week?
I had a dream that he did that night.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I had the same dream. I don't
Um,
know, brother. I think it's noble, but it's wicked liberal and bad. And I think you should probably not do it tonight if you go
I don't
out.
know, like I remember in Occupy Wall Street, like that the thing that was really moving to me is when I saw a bunch of fucking Wall Street dudes come down like to heckle the fucking protesters when we were in Zuccotti Park, and Justin Cox, shout out Chances with Wolves, was like just like intercepted them, and they were like a little bit drunk after they got off work, and they were like, and he just talked with them, and in the like as if like he was just talking to another dude on the street, like New Yorkers do or whatever, and he just like
Do you
and
understand how like wildly different it is to talk to a bunch of unarmed white bros outside of Zuccotti Park during Occupy and talking to cops at anti-police protests organized like in support of black liberation?
um
You surely, without like sussing out the precise differences, we could readily acknowledge that it's wicked different,
yeah,
tremendously
so
different.
of course it's different, yeah, I mean, but
Have
I guess
you
at the
asked any of your black friends if they think this is a good idea?
I've been like being extremely observant at protests and seeing a whole variety of different behaviors, and I've seen many black people talk to the police.
Have you
And
seen
I've
any
seen
black leftists do it? From whom you should be taking direction as a leftist?
I mean, I don't fucking know what
No. So then read up and make a decision. But like, this is not a thing that you just get to decide based on your own moral compass. I don't think. That's my politics. I think it's bad politics to just decide this for yourself.
um that's an I mean, that's I guess the crux of the difference between us. Um I mean, I could be wrong,
Do you
and
think
I
that if I
will
had talked to the cops more persuasively in Baton Rouge, they wouldn't have knocked me the fuck out?
I think that well, it depends. It
The
depends. No, I think that once the cops are
fuck am
rioting,
I, Percy? Like
of course, once the cops are rioting, you can't talk to them. When like that's
once they get the order, they follow the order until or they quit. And so, if you can't
I
get
think that
them,
the bro like I think that doesn't acknowledge that like there's like a lot of people are just like they're not like that. They're not like either follow these orders or quit. They're just like kind of like more abstract and ambiguous, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and maybe like they don't like follow the orders, but they're not quitting or something like that. I mean, a lot of the fucking cops are like, look, we've seen the result of like we saw like again and again
if
we've seen
you
the ugly
would you
face
talk to a
of the
bunch of
police.
Israelis in front of a bunch of Palestinians and be like, "Hey guys, come on, like don't take
Oh,
all the land."
we have you and I have a totally different way of interacting with Israelis for sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about like in front of like I've never been there, and so like you've obviously protested next to with Palestinians against the occupation while there were Israelis there, and that has no doubt informed your practice, and I haven't had that experience, but like I know for a fact that you think that like your goal when engaging with a Zionist is different than my goal when engaging with a Zionist. We have different goals to do that, and I don't think that yours is right and mine is wrong, and I don't think that mine is right and yours is wrong either. And
Are you
you
trying to get
do,
them to stop being a Zionist?
yeah.
Yeah. And you think I'm just trying to marginalize them so much so
No,
that they
no.
either abandon Zionism or it doesn't matter because nobody likes them?
I mean, I think that no, I think that I think we probably want the same end goal, right?
Well, yeah, but I think I just want to make it so unpleasant to be a Zionist that they quit. Just
Right.
like,
And I,
do you think
that's
you
right.
should
And you,
punch Nazis? Do you think that guy who punched Richard Spencer on J20
It's totally fine to punch Richard Spencer, no problem at all.
no problem at all?
I don't think so. No,
You don't
mean,
think he
and,
should have
you know,
talked to him?
No, not Richard Spencer.
So
no.
it's okay.
That's a symbolic act to punch Richard Spencer in the face. He's a famous person.
It's not just
on
symbolic. It's practical. It's a political act because it makes other Nazis less likely to be public Nazis and makes them be like, huh, if
Sure.
the entire world is celebrating this,
Max,
maybe I shouldn't do this.
Max, I want to ask you a question. I saw this with my own eyes, and I thought about this. Like a woman who looked a lot like, who I don't know what the fuck Antifa is, except I kind of do. They look like punk rockers or like, steampunks or whatever. An Antifa woman spit on a police chief as he was blocking traffic, so we were crossing Atlantic Avenue, and they flipped the fuck out, and it provoked this crazy response. And for a second, like a mass, like kind of violence was about to break out, but what ended up happening is the cops grabbed her and arrested her, and they took her behind the lines, and there was like this really tense moment, and it was the crowd was booing and freaking out, and the cops were ready to really go crazy, and thank God it didn't happen. But at the time, I'm just like, it's actually totally fine, I think, to like, or it's like the police commissioner, it's like the boss of all the cops, and I think it's okay to spit at the police commissioner. I don't think it's okay to spit on a regular cop, like just a regular old police officer. Do you?
Yeah, I think it's okay to spit on every cop.
Yeah, I disagree.
I think it's good to do it.
I don't
And
think it's
if I
good,
saw
no.
someone do it and then a bunch of other cops trying to arrest them, I would help that person.
Dude, if you spit on a fucking cop, get ready for an escalation of violence. And if you think that that's good, then I think that that's scary. I mean, I don't know. Like in the one hand, like the escalation of police violence, the police rioting that we saw all week, no doubt has helped politically, structurally prepare the country to make the changes that we desperately need. And so on the one hand, I understand you provoke the police to show their true face and to show it in
What
public.
does it mean to spit on someone? That you hate and disrespect them?
Yeah, but if you spit on a fucking cop, they're gonna freak out and start swinging a baton wildly, and maybe
If you don't spit on a cop, they're gonna freak out and start spit.
Yeah, and it's better for us and better for the movement if they show that ugly face of theirs without us showing ours. And I think it's ugly to spit on someone. I mean, like just person to person, human to human. And I think it's okay
and if you
to not
don't
treat
have
Richard
any
Spencer
power
like a human
and
or the
you're
police.
fucking getting beaten up left and right, all like your friends are getting this shit kicked out of them left and right, and you like there's a cop near you and you spit on them, I don't fucking care what their rank is. Do I think it's a good idea to run up to a fucking random cop and spit on them? No, but I don't feel bad for a cop who gets spit on under any circumstances.
Uh-huh. No, I understand that. I really do. I mean, I think that
but like sure it makes I mean, like, look, anyone will tell you that the cops have been provoked. They tried to do it with the Buffalo protester. Yesterday,
fucking
Trump tweeted some
75-year-old
crazy
man,
shit
yeah.
about him. So
that was insane. That he's Antifa, person of interest. Yeah, of course.
So whether
Anytime-
they spit or they don't spit, they're going to lie and say they do. So don't fucking spend too much time worrying about the spitters.
Right. I mean, I'm not going around criticizing other people for their form of protest. And I think that spitting on someone is a sign of disrespect and is an expression of rage. And I think that there is legitimate rage especially by black people, but also by
Everybody.
by all marginalized people and everybody.
by
Yeah, exactly.
everybody.
So by everybody. And that rage is legitimate. And so if it's expressed in the form of destruction of property, I think it's totally legitimate. And if it's expressed in the form of spitting on the cops, I think I understand it, but I just think that like to have the most effective nonviolent movement, I think we have to it has to be the police beating up like innocent people on live television for everyone. And I just think
It's been that for 80 years. And if they didn't set that fucking police station on fire, none of this would be happening. So you should fucking talk to cops and but you should talk to them about why it's righteous to have their police station burned down and they should quit. Like, what you're saying is fucking crazy.
I tell them to quit now. I tell them that we're gonna defund the NYPD, and here's why, and here's what that's gonna look like, and I tell them that capitalism is what's
cool.
Like,
why don't you try, instead of doing that, instead of like being so cool and brave and just saying that to the cop, say it to the fucking on the fence white moderates instead.
Yeah.
Don't talk to the police. Anyway, I love you. I gotta go. This was really fun.
I love you too. This was fun. Let's check back in. I mean, there's so much to fucking say, so we'll have to check back in soon.
So give me a kiss, baby, I'm an anarchist.
All right, love you.
All right, bye.
Bye.